The sun was slowly setting, painting the city with golden light. Cars rushed on the road, people hurried back from work, and children laughed in the parks. Among all this, a black luxury car moved steadily through the streets. Inside the car sat a man who was tired but excited. His name was Mr. Adrian Cole, a millionaire businessman. For the last 2 months, he had been away on a long business trip across Europe. Meetings, hotels, contracts, late-night flights. His life was busy, but now he was finally home. He leaned back in his seat and looked out of the window. A soft smile appeared on his face. He was imagining the scene at home. His wife standing at the door, his 2 little children running toward him with open arms, the family dog barking happily. He could already hear the laughter. Finally, he whispered to himself, "Finally, I'm back." The driver looked at him through the mirror and asked politely, "Sir, should I drive straight to the mansion?" "Yes," Adrian replied, his eyes still on the road. "I can't wait to see my family." His heart was light, almost childlike. It didn't matter how much money he had made on the trip or how many deals he had signed. What mattered was the warmth of home. The car turned into a quieter street, not far from his grand mansion. Adrian's phone buzzed. It was a message from his assistant. "Congratulations on the successful deal, sir. We are proud of you." Adrian smiled, but quickly kept the phone aside. Tonight wasn't about business. Tonight was about family. As the car slowed down at a crossing, something caught his eye. Just a few steps ahead, near the corner of a bakery, he saw 3 familiar figures. At first he thought his eyes were playing tricks, but then his heart skipped a beat. He leaned forward, pressing his hand on the glass window. "Stop the car," Adrian said sharply. The driver looked confused, but obeyed. The car came to a halt. Adrian's breath grew heavy. He rubbed his eyes once, trying to be sure, but there was no mistake. On the sidewalk, he saw his maid, Clara, holding the hands of his 2 little children. His son, Ethan, only 6 years old, was clutching Clara's right hand. His daughter, Lily, just 4, was on her left side. The 3 of them were walking slowly, almost nervously, looking around as if hiding from someone. Adrian's chest tightened. Why are my kids outside? Why with the maid? Where is my wife? He pushed the door open and stepped out of the car. His polished shoes touched the pavement, but he didn't move immediately. He just stood there, frozen. For years, Clara had been their maid. She was quiet, hardworking, and trustworthy, or at least that's what Adrian had always believed. She was like family, someone who helped raise his children. But tonight, the sight was strange. Something was wrong. The kids were not smiling. Their clothes looked a little messy, as if they had been running. Clara's face looked pale, almost frightened. She kept looking over her shoulder, scanning the street. Adrian's heart pounded louder. He had imagined hugs and laughter. Instead, he was staring at a mystery. The driver whispered, "Sir, is everything all right?" Adrian didn't reply. His eyes were fixed on Clara and the children. He didn't want to call out yet. He wanted to understand. Clara knelt down for a moment, brushing Lily's hair back and whispering something into her ear. The little girl nodded silently. Ethan clung to Clara's arm, his eyes big and scared. Adrian felt a sharp pain in his chest. His children were supposed to run to him with joy. Why did they look so lost? Why were they walking on the street with the maid at sunset, instead of being safe inside the mansion? He took a step forward, slowly, quietly. His shadow stretched on the pavement. Clara hadn't noticed him yet. From where he stood, Adrian could hear faint words. Clara's voice was low, almost trembling. "Stay quiet. Don't say anything. Just keep walking with me. Don't let anyone see us." Adrian's blood ran cold. His fists tightened. What is happening here? Why is she hiding my children? The world around him faded. The sounds of traffic, the laughter of strangers, everything blurred into silence. The only thing that mattered was the sight in front of him, his children. His maid, in a secret he didn't understand. He wanted to shout her name. He wanted to rush forward and pull his kids into his arms. But something stopped him. her face. Clara's face was not the face of a thief or a liar. It was the face of someone carrying fear, a fear so deep it reached her trembling hands. Adrian's mind raced. Could it be that she was protecting them? Or was she betraying him? He hid behind a parked car, just close enough to watch. His heartbeat was wild, but his eyes were sharp. He needed to know. The children clung tighter to Clara. Ethan whispered something, but Adrian couldn't hear. Clara hushed him quickly, her eyes darting toward the shadows at the end of the street. Adrian followed her gaze. There was nothing there, or maybe there was. A dark figure seemed to move in the distance, almost blending with the night. The air grew heavier. Adrian pressed his back against the car and closed his eyes for a second. His return home was supposed to be simple, warm, and joyful. But now, he was standing in the middle of a mystery that could change everything. He took a deep breath and whispered to himself, "What is going on here?" The driver stepped out, ready to ask again, but Adrian raised his hand, signaling him to stay silent. This was not the time for questions. Instead, Adrian began walking slowly, one step at a time, following Clara and the children. His shoes clicked softly on the pavement, his eyes never leaving them. Every second felt like an hour. Every breath felt like thunder. His mind kept repeating the same question: why are my kids with the maid on the street? And deep down a darker thought whispered, what if they are in danger? The night was just beginning, but for Adrian, it already felt endless. His return had turned into the start of something far bigger than he had ever imagined. And as he followed them into the shadows of the street, he knew one thing for sure. This was not the homecoming he had dreamed of. This was the beginning of a secret he was not ready for. The street was quiet, but inside Adrian Cole's chest, a storm was building. He had imagined his return as a dream, his children smiling, his wife hugging him, the house warm with light. But now his dream was broken. His children were outside, clutching the hands of their maid, Clara, looked as if danger was chasing her. Adrian's polished shoes clicked softly on the pavement as he followed at a careful distance. Every step felt heavier. He was torn between rushing forward and demanding answers or waiting. Watching and learning the truth before acting, the evening air carried a faint chill. Street lamps flickered on one by one, painting long shadows across the road. The bakery nearby had closed its doors and only a few strangers walked past. None of them paid attention to Clara and the children. To the world, they looked like an ordinary woman walking with two kids. But to Adrian, it was the most unusual, most painful sight of his life. He could see his little son, Ethan, clutching Clara's hand tightly. His small eyes filled with unease. His daughter, Lily, clung to Clara's dress, her tiny steps stumbling as though she was too tired to walk. Adrian's throat tightened. They should have been at home, safe. They should have been laughing, waiting for him. Instead, they looked afraid. Adrian's heart screamed to run forward, to scoop them up, to say, "Papa's here." But something in Clara's behavior stopped him. Her face was pale, her eyes darting around the street, scanning every shadow. She wasn't smiling at the children or speaking cheerfully. She was whispering, quick and tense, as though warning them. "Stay close. Don't talk. Don't look back," she muttered under her breath. Adrian's fists clenched. What was she protecting them from? Suddenly, Clara tugged the children toward a narrow alley beside a closed shop. Adrian's breath caught. Why an alley? Why not take them straight home? The mansion was only a few streets away. His mind raced with dark possibilities. Is she running away with them? Has she betrayed me? Or is she hiding them from someone else? The more he thought, the heavier the questions became. His stomach twisted with fear. He stepped forward quickly now, no longer able to hold himself back. His shoes echoed in the quiet street. Clara turned slightly, her eyes widening when she noticed a tall figure moving behind her. For a split second, Adrian thought she recognized him. But then he realized no. Her fear was not for him. Her fear was for something else. She tightened her grip on the children's hands and walked faster. Ethan almost tripped, but she pulled him along. Lily whimpered softly, but Clara hushed her immediately. "Not now, baby. Be strong. Just a little further," she whispered. Adrian's chest ached. Lily always cried when she was tired. Why was Clara making her walk like this? Why didn't she carry her? Enough was enough. He could not stay hidden any longer. With firm steps, Adrian moved closer until he was only a few feet away. "Clara," his voice came out deeper, colder than he intended. Clara froze. The children stopped too. Slowly, Clara turned her head. Her face was pale as a ghost, and her eyes were wide with shock. "Mr. Cole," she whispered, almost breathless. The children gasped. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. "Papa," he said in a small, broken voice. Adrian's heart cracked. He wanted to scoop Ethan into his arms, hold Lily close, and tell them everything was fine. But when he looked into Clara's trembling face, he saw something that stopped him. Fear. Not fear of being caught. Not fear of guilt. It was fear of something else, something bigger, something unseen. "What are you doing with my children on the street?" Adrian's voice was steady, but inside he was breaking. Clara opened her mouth, but no words came. Her lips trembled. She looked at the children, then back at Adrian. She wanted to explain, but something held her back. "Answer me." Adrian's voice rose, filled with anger and worry. Lily clung tighter to Clara's dress. "Papa, don't shout," she whispered, her little voice shaking. Adrian's eyes softened for a moment, but the storm inside him still raged. "Why are my children here, Clara? Why are they not at home? Where is my wife?" Clara's eyes filled with tears. She looked down, unable to meet his gaze. I couldn't stay at the house," she whispered. Adrian frowned. "What do you mean?" "That's their home. They belong there." Clara shook her head quickly. "No, sir. You don't understand. Someone came." Adrian's blood ran cold. "Someone came? Who? What happened?" Clara gripped Ethan's hand tighter, her knuckles white. Her body trembled as she whispered they were watching the house. "I didn't feel safe. I had to take them out. Please believe me, I was only protecting them." Adrian stared at her, his mind spinning. Protecting them? Watching the house? Who would dare? The silence grew heavier. The street around them felt empty. But Adrian couldn't shake the feeling that eyes were watching from the shadows. Suddenly, Ethan tugged at his father's sleeve. "Papa," he whispered, his voice trembling. "There was a man. He was looking at us through the window. Clara said he was bad." Adrian froze. His jaw tightened. A man? Watching his children? Clara's tears spilled over. "I didn't want to scare them more. But it's true. Someone was outside and I know he was waiting. I couldn't risk it. I took them away." Adrian's anger softened, replaced by something even heavier, fear for his family. But still, doubt lingered. Could she be telling the truth? Or was this a story to cover something else? Before he could ask more, Clara's eyes widened in horror. She looked past Adrian's shoulder, her breath catching. Adrian turned quickly at the far end of the street. Under the flickering light of a street lamp stood a shadowy figure. Tall, still, silent. Watching, the man didn't move. He just stood there as if waiting. Adrian's blood turned to ice. His instincts screamed danger. Clara whispered urgently, "It's him." He followed us. Adrian stepped in front of his children without thinking, his arms stretched wide, shielding them. His heart pounded so loudly it echoed in his ears. The millionaire who had just returned from his trip, expecting peace, now found himself standing between his family and a stranger in the dark. And in that moment, he realized his life had changed forever. Adrian Cole stood frozen, his tall figure shielding his children. The quiet street had turned into a stage of fear. Clara gripped the children tightly, her hands shaking, her breath short at the far end. Under the flickering streetlight, the shadowy figure remained, still, silent, watching. For a long moment, time itself seemed to stop. The sound of cars from the main road faded, The world shrank until only 4 heartbeats were heard. Adrian's, Clara's, Ethan's, and little Lily's. Adrian's throat was dry. His mind raced. He had left for a business trip believing his family would be safe in the mansion. Now he was standing on the street, facing an unknown threat. He clenched his fists. "Stay behind me," he said, his voice deep and steady. Ethan gripped his sister's hand. Lily's tiny lips trembled as she whispered, "Papa, who is that man?" Adrian forced himself to sound calm, though his chest burned with fear. "Don't worry, sweetheart. Just hold Clara's hand." Clara's eyes darted nervously. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "He followed us before. He's dangerous, Mr. Cole. I didn't want you to see this. That's why I left the house with the children. I didn't want him near them." Adrian turned his head slightly, his sharp eyes locking on her. "Who is he? Do you know him?" Clara looked down, unable to speak. Her silence told him more than words could. The figure at the end of the street finally moved. One slow step forward, then another. The sound of his heavy boots echoed on the pavement. Adrian's chest tightened. He spread his arms wider, his tall frame blocking the view of his children completely. "Papa." Ethan's voice shook. "Quiet, son," Adrian said firmly. Though his own voice threatened to break, the man kept walking, steady and unhurried, like a hunter closing in on prey. The dim light revealed a broad figure, dressed in dark clothes, his face hidden under a hood. Clara gasped softly. "It's him. The same man who was outside the mansion." Adrian's blood boiled. Rage mixed with fear. He stepped forward slightly, shouting across the street. "Who are you? What do you want?" The man didn't answer. He only tilted his head slightly, as though studying Adrian. Then he took another step closer. Adrian's instincts screamed danger. This was no random passerby. "This man was here for a reason," Clara whispered desperately. "We have to leave. Please, let's go." But Adrian's feet were rooted to the ground. For years he had built his empire with courage and control. He had faced businessmen, rivals, even betrayal in boardrooms. But this was different. This was his family, his blood, his children. He couldn't just run. "Clara," he said firmly, without turning his head, "take the children. Step back." Clara's grip on the kids tightened. "But sir, now," Adrian ordered, his voice like iron. Clara obeyed, pulling Ethan and Lily a few steps behind. The children whimpered softly, fear filling their innocent eyes. Adrian kept his eyes locked on the stranger. Every muscle in his body tensed. His heart thudded like a drum, but his face showed no weakness. The man was now halfway across the street. The dim light revealed rough hands, clenched fists, and a slow, deliberate walk. "Tell me what you want." Adrian barked again. Finally, the man spoke. His voice was low, harsh, and chilling. "They are not safe with you." Adrian's breath caught. His fists tightened. "What did you say?" The man's lips curled into a faint, almost mocking smile. "Your children? They don't belong in that golden cage of yours. I'll take them somewhere else." Adrian's blood turned to fire. "You will not touch my children." The man's dark laugh echoed down the street. "You can't protect them forever, Cole. Money cannot buy safety." Clara's knees weakened. She whispered under her breath, "It's worse than I thought." Adrian's jaw tightened. He took one bold step forward. "If you come closer, you'll regret it." The man stopped for a moment, his shadow stretching long under the lamp. His head tilted again, like he was studying Adrian, measuring him. Then, with sudden sharpness, started walking faster. Adrian's heart pounded harder. This was it. He had no choice. He glanced back, once Ethan's small face pale with fear, Lily clutching Clara tightly. They trusted him completely. He turned back, his eyes burning with determination. The man was only a few feet away now. Adrian could see his scarred jaw under the hood. His cold eyes locked on the children behind him. Clara cried out softly, "Mr. Cole, please don't fight him. We have to run." But Adrian didn't move. He planted his feet firmly on the ground. Not one step closer, Adrian growled. The man smirked. Or what? Adrian's fists clenched. He didn't know if he could win against this stranger. But he knew one thing: he would rather fall than let anyone lay a finger on his children. The air between them grew heavy. Silence, except for the quick breaths of the children and Clara's soft sobs. Then, suddenly, the man stopped. He looked at Adrian for a long, tense moment. Then, slowly, he stepped back into the shadows. Adrian's eyes narrowed. Was he leaving? Or waiting? The man's voice echoed, cold and cruel. This is not over. They are not safe. I'll come back for them. And with that, he disappeared into the night. Adrian's chest heaved, his body still tense. He turned quickly to his children. Ethan's tears were flowing. Lily's small arms reached out. Clara was trembling, her face wet with tears. Adrian rushed to them, pulling his children into his arms. "Papa's here," he whispered fiercely. "No one will hurt you. I promise." But even as he held them, his mind raced with one question. Who was that man? And why did he want his children? The return that was supposed to be joyful had turned into a nightmare, and Adrian knew. This was only the beginning. The night air felt heavier than ever. The street that had once been familiar now seemed full of shadows and secrets. Adrian Cole held his children close, his heart racing. The stranger's words still echoed in his mind. "They are not safe with you. I'll come back for them." Every part of Adrian's body burned with anger and fear. He had faced many challenges in life, but nothing compared to this. This was no business rival, no financial risk. This was his family, his children. His very blood. Clara stood nearby, her hands trembling, her face pale. She kept glancing at the corner where the man had disappeared. Her lips moved silently, whispering a prayer, or perhaps a desperate wish for safety. Adrian knelt down, pulling Ethan and Lily closer. Ethan's little chest was heaving with sobs, and Lily's face was buried in her father's suit. "Papa," Ethan choked, "why does that man want us? What did we do?" Adrian's throat tightened. He stroked his son's hair, forcing his voice to remain calm. "You didn't do anything, Ethan. None of this is your fault. That man, he's just dangerous. But listen to me, you're safe now. I won't let anyone hurt you." Lily sniffled, her tiny hands gripping his collar. "Papa, don't leave again. Stay with us." Those words cut him deeper than any knife. He had left for his business, for deals, for contracts, thinking his family was secure. But now, his daughter's trembling plea made him realize he had been wrong. "I'm here, Lily," he whispered fiercely. "I'm not going anywhere. Not now. Not ever." When he finally stood, his sharp eyes turned to Clara. She looked away, shamed, as though hiding something. "Clara," Adrian said, his voice steady but cold, "tell me the truth. Who is that man?" Clara's lips trembled. She shook her head quickly. I don't know his name, sir." Adrian stepped closer, his tall frame towering over her. "Don't lie to me. You said you've seen him before? You knew he would come tonight. You took my children out of the house because of him. You know something." Clara's eyes filled with tears. She looked at the children, then at Adrian, her voice breaking. "Please, not here. Not in front of them." Adrian's jaw clenched. He wanted answers now, but one look at Ethan and Lily, their innocent faces pale with fear, reminded him this was not the place. He nodded tightly. "Fine, we'll go home. But once we're inside, you'll tell me everything." Clara swallowed hard and nodded, wiping her tears. She took Lily's small hand while Adrian carried Ethan in his arms. Together, they walked back toward the mansion. The mansion stood tall and grand, its lights glowing against the night sky. Usually it looked like a symbol of wealth and security. Tonight, it felt cold, empty, and vulnerable. The guards at the gate straightened quickly when they saw Adrian, but he said nothing. His thoughts were heavy. His children were clinging to him, and Clara's silence was louder than words. Inside the mansion, the air felt different. Too quiet. Too heavy. Adrian placed Ethan gently on the sofa. Lily sat beside her brother, their small eyes still wide with fear. Clara stood in the corner, her hands twisting nervously. Adrian poured a glass of water and handed it to his son. Ethan drank slowly, his little hands shaking. Lily leaned against him, whispering softly. "I'm scared." Adrian crouched down in front of them, his strong hands holding theirs. "Listen to me. You don't have to be afraid anymore. You're safe here. I promise." The children nodded. Though their fear didn't vanish, Adrian stood and turned toward Clara. His eyes were sharp, his voice firm. "Now tell me what you know." Clara hesitated, her body trembling. She looked at the children again, then at Adrian. Finally, she whispered, "I didn't want this to reach you. I thought I could handle it quietly. But tonight, when I saw him watching from outside the mansion, I knew I had no choice." Adrian's brows furrowed. "Handle what? Who is he?" Clara's eyes filled with tears. Her voice cracked. "He's from my past, sir. Someone I thought I left behind long ago." Adrian's jaw tightened. "From your past? What does that have to do with my children?" Clara looked down, ashamed. "Because he knows I work here. He knows you're rich. And he thinks hurting the children will hurt me." Adrian's chest burned with fury. "So this man is after you. But instead of coming to me, you kept it secret? You put my children in danger." Clara fell to her knees, sobbing. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't want to bring trouble into your home. I thought if I stayed quiet, he would go away. I thought if I kept watch, I could protect them myself. But tonight, he was too close. I had to take them out." Adrian's fists clenched. His voice shook with controlled rage. "You should have told me the moment this began. Do you have any idea what could have happened tonight? He could have taken them." Clara's sobs grew louder. She pressed her hands together. "Please believe me, sir. I love those children. I would die before I let anyone harm them." Ethan and Lily looked up, confused and frightened by the shouting. Ethan's small voice broke the silence. "Papa, Clara didn't hurt us. She was trying to keep us safe." Adrian froze. His anger was real, his fear even stronger. But when his son spoke, he realized something. The children trusted Clara. They clung to her just as much as they clung to him. He turned away, running his hand over his face. His thoughts were a storm. He had returned from his trip expecting peace, but instead he had walked into a nightmare. A stranger threatening his family, a maid with a past she couldn't escape, and children caught in the middle. Finally, Adrian spoke, his voice low but sharp. "Clara, listen to me. If you want to stay here, if you want to keep protecting them, then you will tell me everything about this man. Every secret, every detail. No more lies. Do you understand?" Clara nodded quickly, her tears still falling. "Yes, sir. I'll tell you everything." Adrian looked at his children, his heart aching. They were too young to understand all this. But one thing was clear to him now. This man was not going to stop. The whispered warning Clara had given, "Stay quiet. Don't let anyone see us," was more than just fear. It was the truth. The danger was real, and Adrian Cole knew that this was only the beginning. The night had grown silent in the Cole mansion, but the silence did not bring peace. Instead, it carried tension, thick, heavy, and impossible to ignore. Adrian Cole sat in the living room, his sharp eyes fixed on Clara. His children were finally asleep upstairs, though not without tears. He had stayed by their bedside, holding their small hands until their breathing calmed. But now, as he returned downstairs, his anger burned again. The maid stood in the corner of the room, her eyes downcast, her hands clutching the edge of her apron. She looked like a shadow of herself, fragile, cornered, trembling. Adrian's voice cut through the silence. "Clara, enough. I want the truth. Every part of it." Tonight, Clara's lips parted, but no words came. She swallowed hard, her eyes glistening with tears. "Who is he?" Adrian demanded. His tone was firm, not loud, but sharper than a blade. "What does he want from you? From my children? From me?" Clara's voice finally emerged, weak and trembling. "His name is Marcus. Marcus Hale." Adrian's brows furrowed. The name meant nothing to him. And who is Marcus Hale to you? Clara closed her eyes, her chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. He was someone I trusted once. Someone I thought cared about me. But I was wrong. Adrian leaned forward in his chair, his jaw tightening. Explain. Her voice cracked as she spoke. Years ago, before I came to work for you, I was alone. My family had nothing. I needed help, and Marcus was there. He offered me food, shelter, promises of a better life. I believed him. Adrian's fists clenched. He could already feel where this was going, but Marcus was not who he pretended to be. Clara continued, her tears spilling freely. He was cruel. He controlled people with fear. He made us do things we didn't want to do. And when I tried to leave, he said he would never let me go. He said I belonged to him. Adrian's chest tightened with rage. And you brought that danger into my house? Into my children's lives? Clara's head dropped, her sobs quiet but heavy. I didn't mean to. I thought if I stayed away from him, if I worked here quietly, he would forget me. But he didn't. He found me again. He watched from a distance, and when he saw me with your children, he realized how much they mean to me. He saw a way to hurt me. To punish me, Adrian stood suddenly, his chair scraping against the floor. His tall frame loomed over her. His voice thundered. Do you understand what could have happened tonight? He could have taken them, Clara. My children. And you kept this from me? Clara fell to her knees, her hands clasped desperately. I was afraid, sir. Afraid that if I told you, you would send me away. That you would fire me? That you would think I was a danger. Her tears soaked the floor as she whispered, I love those children like they're my own. I couldn't leave them. I couldn't leave this house. So I kept quiet. I thought I could protect them myself. But I was wrong. I see that now. For a long moment, Adrian said nothing. His heart pounded with fury and fear. He wanted to shout at her, to blame her for keeping such a secret. But as he looked down at her, broken and trembling, he also saw something else: guilt, pain, and love. The love she had for his children. He turned away, his voice lower but still sharp. You should have trusted me. You should have come to me the moment this began. Clara wiped her tears, nodding quickly. I know, and I'm ready now. I'll tell you everything. I'll do whatever it takes to keep them safe. Adrian's mind raced. Marcus Hale, a man from Clara's past. A man bold enough to follow his children onto the street, bold enough to whisper threats in the night. This was not some petty thief. This was someone dangerous. Someone who had to be stopped. Finally, Adrian turned back to her. His voice was calm but firm. Clara, from this moment on, there are no more secrets. You will tell me everything you know about Marcus Hale. Where he comes from, what he wants, how he operates. Every detail. Do you understand? Clara nodded through her tears. Yes, sir. I'll tell you. She took a deep, shaky breath, then began. Marcus runs with dangerous men. He never works alone. They steal, they threaten, they take what they want. I don't know how many follow him, but I've seen him with at least 4 others. He's clever, always hiding, always watching. He doesn't forgive. If he feels betrayed, he makes sure people pay. Adrian's fists clenched tighter. And now he has turned his eyes on my children. Clara nodded miserably. Yes, because he knows they are your weakness and mine. He thinks if he takes them, you will bend, or I will. Adrian's voice was like steel. He's wrong. The room fell silent again. Adrian walked toward the window, staring into the dark night. His reflection stared back at him, a man torn between rage and determination. He had built his empire on strength, power, and control. But now, for the first time, his empire meant nothing compared to the safety of his children. He turned back to Clara, his eyes cold but resolute. Tomorrow, I will double the guards around this house. I will contact the police, and I will make sure Marcus Hale never comes near my family again. Clara's voice trembled. Be careful, sir. Marcus is dangerous. If you confront him directly, Adrian raised his hand, cutting her off. Clara, listen to me. I will not let fear control this house. Not his fear, not yours. These are my children. My blood. And I will do whatever it takes to protect them. Clara lowered her head, whispering, I believe you. But her heart trembled because deep down, she knew Marcus Hale was not a man who backed down easily. He was a shadow from her past, and shadows had a way of creeping back. No matter how strong the light, Adrian exhaled slowly, his hands tightening into fists. The confrontation tonight had shaken him, but it had also made one thing clear, and this was war. And Adrian Cole was not a man who lost wars. The Cole mansion stood like a fortress in the night, its tall gates and glowing lights guarding the family within. After Adrian's confrontation with Clara, the household felt restless. Guards now patrolled the grounds in pairs. Extra locks were checked again and again. But even with all that security, unease lingered, because somewhere in the shadows, Marcus Hale was watching. Adrian sat in his study, staring at documents he couldn't focus on. His mind wasn't on business anymore, it was on Ethan and Lily, peacefully asleep upstairs. He imagined them smiling, playing, laughing, as children should. Then he remembered the fear in their eyes on the street, the way they clung to him like he was their only shield. His chest tightened. No deal, no fortune, no empire could compare to them. The clock ticked past midnight, but Adrian didn't rise from his chair. He couldn't. Sleep felt impossible now. There was a soft knock on the door. Come in, Adrian said. Clara stepped inside. Her eyes were swollen from crying, but her voice was steady. The children are safe, sir. I checked on them again. Adrian nodded. Good, she hesitated, then added, you haven't rested. I can't, Adrian admitted, his tone sharp. Not while that man is out there. Clara lowered her head. She understood. For a moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the distant sound of guards' footsteps outside. Then Adrian spoke again, his voice quieter. Clara, tell me honestly, do you believe Marcus will stop? Clara's lips trembled. No, sir. He never stops until he gets what he wants. Adrian's jaw clenched. Then I will make him regret ever setting his eyes on my family. Clara looked at him, a mixture of fear and hope in her eyes. You're strong, sir, but Marcus is... He's unpredictable. He doesn't just attack. He waits. He watches. And when you least expect it, that's when he strikes. Clara's words were true, because while they spoke, Marcus was already near. From a hill just beyond the mansion gates, Marcus Hale stood in the darkness, his black coat blending with the night. His eyes, cold and sharp, followed every light in the mansion. He knew where the guards walked. He knew which windows glowed with warmth. He even knew which room belonged to the children. Beside him, one of his men shifted uneasily. Boss, too many guards. Hard to get close now, Marcus smirked. Guards don't scare me. Rich men think money builds walls, but walls can be climbed. Doors can be opened. And fear. His smile widened. Fear always finds a way inside. The man nodded nervously, stepping back. Marcus lit a cigarette, the faint glow illuminating his scarred face. He exhaled smoke, his eyes never leaving the mansion. He thinks he can protect them. He thinks this house makes them safe. But soon, Adrian Cole will learn nothing he owns can shield him from me. He dropped the cigarette and crushed it under his boot. We wait. We watch. And when the time is right, we strike. Back inside the mansion, Adrian walked quietly through the hallways, checking each door himself. His steps slowed when he reached his children's room. He pushed the door open softly. Ethan and Lily lay asleep in their beds. Their faces calm now, their small chests rising and falling with gentle breaths. The sight brought relief to Adrian's heart, yet it also fueled his rage. Because he knew someone out there wanted to steal this peace, he leaned against the doorframe, whispering to himself, I won't let it happen. Never. Clara stood behind him silently, her hands folded. She had followed him, though she didn't dare disturb the children. Seeing Adrian like this, so vulnerable, so protective, made her chest ache. She knew he was a powerful man, feared in the business world. But here, in front of his children, he was just a father. And fathers could be broken if their children were taken. Clara's heart sank. Marcus knew that too well. Morning arrived with pale light spilling over the mansion. Guards stood weary, but alert at their posts. The staff moved quietly, trying not to disturb the heavy atmosphere at breakfast. Ethan and Lily sat beside their father, eating slowly. Clara served them, her hands still trembling slightly. Adrian kept glancing at the windows, his eyes sharp, scanning for movement outside. "Papa," Lily said softly, breaking the silence. "Are we in trouble?" Adrian looked at her, his heart aching. "No, sweetheart. You're safe here," Ethan frowned. "But that man said he'll come back." Adrian's hand tightened on his fork, but he forced a calm smile. "If he comes back, he'll find me waiting for him." The children didn't fully understand, but they trusted their father's words. Clara, however, lowered her gaze. She knew Marcus well enough to believe his threats. He would return. And when he did, it would not be simple. That night, Adrian made another decision. He called his most trusted guard, a man named Harris. Harris had worked for him for years, loyal and steady. "Harris," Adrian said firmly, "I want every corner of this mansion watched. Double the patrols. Nobody enters these grounds without my permission. And I want eyes outside too. If anyone lingers near this property, I want to know." Harris nodded. "Understood, sir." Adrian dismissed him, then turned back to Clara, who stood nervously nearby. "And you, Clara, you don't go out alone. Not even for groceries, not for errands, nothing. If you need anything, tell me you're Harris." Clara nodded quickly. "Yes, sir." Adrian's eyes narrowed. "Marcus wants to scare us. But we won't hide. He'll learn what happens when he comes after my family." Clara wanted to believe his strength would be enough, but a voice inside her whispered that Marcus was already closer than they realized. And outside the mansion walls, in the silent darkness, Marcus Hale smiled to himself. The waiting game had begun. The mansion was quiet that night. But it was not the calm of peace. It was the silence before a storm. Guards walked their patrols. Lights glowed faintly along the fences. Adrian Cole stayed awake in his study, his eyes scanning reports he couldn't bring himself to read. His children were asleep upstairs. Clara had checked on them 3 times already. Adrian trusted her care, but he trusted no one outside his gates. Not anymore, because Marcus Hale was still out there, and Adrian knew men like him never vanished quietly. The clock struck midnight. Adrian rose from his chair, exhaustion tugging at his body, when suddenly, bang! The sound echoed across the mansion grounds. A sharp crack, like metal striking against metal. Adrian rushed to the window. One of the guards was shouting near the eastern fence, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. Another guard ran to join him. Adrian's heart raced. He grabbed his phone, calling Harris. "Report." Sir Harris's voice came quickly. "Someone tried to cut the fence. We found the wire half sliced. Whoever it was ran before we got close." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Increase patrols, now." "Yes, sir." Adrian hung up, his chest burning with fury. Marcus was testing them. He hadn't attacked yet, but he wanted them to know he was there, watching. Waiting, Clara appeared at the doorway, her face pale. "Sir," I heard shouting. "What happened?" Adrian's eyes locked on hers. He made his first move. Clara gasped softly, her hands clutching her apron. "The children, they're safe," Adrian interrupted firmly. "Stay with them. Don't let them out of your sight." Clara nodded quickly and hurried upstairs. Adrian turned back to the window, his fists clenching. "So this is your game, Marcus. You want to scare me?" His voice dropped to a growl. "You'll regret it." But Marcus was not finished at the far end of the estate. Hidden among the trees, he crouched with 2 of his men. The faint light of the mansion glowed in the distance. One of the men whispered, "Boss, we could have gone in. Why pull back?" Marcus smirked. "Because fear is stronger when it grows slowly. A crack in the fence tonight. a shadow tomorrow. Soon, Cole won't know where to look or who to trust. By the time I strike, he'll already be broken inside. The men exchanged uneasy glances, but they obeyed. Marcus's word was law. He lit another cigarette, the ember glowing red in the night. His eyes narrowed at the mansion. Enjoy your safety while it lasts, Cole. Your walls won't protect you forever. Inside, Adrian paced the hall. Sleep would not come now. He checked the doors himself, spoke with the guards, and finally stopped at his children's room. He pushed the door open quietly. Ethan and Lily slept soundly, their little faces peaceful. Clara sat beside their beds, her hands folded, whispering prayers under her breath. Adrian's heart softened at the sight. For a moment, the storm outside seemed far away, but then Lily stirred half asleep and mumbled, "Papa, is the bad man gone?" Adrian's chest tightened. He stepped closer, brushing her hair gently. "Yes, sweetheart. He's gone." The words felt heavy on his tongue, because deep down, he knew it wasn't true. Marcus wasn't gone, he was closer than ever. The next day brought no relief. Adrian increased the number of guards again. Harris organized patrols with military precision. Clara never let the children leave her sight, but still, unease grew. Strange things began to happen. In the morning, one of the gardeners found footprints in the soil near the back gate. Footprints too large to belong to any staff. At noon, a delivery truck parked near the entrance. But when the guards checked, no one was inside. The engine still ran, the driver gone without a trace. By evening, dead crow was found at the doorstep, its wings spread wide, a chilling symbol of warning. Clara trembled when she saw it. This is Marcus. This is his way. He's letting us know he's close. Adrian's fury boiled over. He crushed the note that had been tied to the crow's leg, a single word scrawled across it. Soon he turned to Harris. Double-check every man on our staff. I want no strangers, no outsiders. If anyone doesn't belong, throw them out. Yes, sir. Clara's voice trembled. Sir, Marcus doesn't need to break in. He doesn't need to fight. He plays with fear until it destroys you from inside. Adrian's eyes burned with defiance. Then let him play. Because when he comes for me, I'll be ready. That night, Adrian barely moved from the living room. He sat in silence, staring at the front doors, waiting. His revolver lay on the table beside him, polished and loaded. Outside the guards paced. Harris's voice occasionally cut through the radios. Everything was being watched. But just past the gates, Marcus stood in the shadows again. His smirk widened as he saw the glow of the guards' flashlights. He knew Adrian was awake inside. He knew Clara was trembling in fear, and he knew the children, those innocent. Precious children were the keys to everything. Marcus leaned closer to one of his men. Not tonight, but soon. We'll make him bleed where it hurts most. Back inside, Adrian whispered to himself. Let him come. But even as he said it, he couldn't silence the unease in his chest. Because deep down, he knew, the first strike had already happened, and the next one would not be a warning, it would be real. The Cole mansion had become a fortress. Extra guards patrolled the gates. Harris inspected every corner of the estate, and Adrian himself barely left the halls. But no matter how many walls or men stood between them and the outside world, the feeling of danger lingered. Because danger doesn't always knock at the door. Sometimes it finds a way inside. It began with little things. A vase in the hallway broken. None of the staff admitted to touching it. A door that Adrian was certain he had. Locked, found ajar the next morning, whispers at night. Soft creaks of footsteps when the house was supposed to be asleep. At first, Adrian brushed it off his nerves. The staff were tired. The children were restless. Clara was always jumpy now, her eyes darting toward windows, her hands trembling when she carried trays. But then something happened that could not be ignored. It was a rainy evening. Thunder rumbled outside as Adrian sat with his children in the living room, reading them a story to calm their minds. Ethan leaned against his shoulder. Lily clutched her stuffed toy tightly. Suddenly, dash clicked, the lights flickered, then went out completely. Darkness swallowed the mansion. The children gasped. Clara rushed in with a lantern, her face pale. The power. It's gone. Adrian rose instantly. Stay with the children, he ordered Clara. Harris appeared moments later, flashlight in hand. Sir, the generators have been tampered with. Adrian's blood ran cold. From inside. Harris nodded grimly. Yes. Someone had to cut the lines. Clara's voice shook. You mean someone is here? Inside the house? The children clung to their father, their small bodies trembling. Adrian wrapped his arms around them, his eyes fierce. Not for long. The guards spread through the mansion, flashlights cutting across the dark halls. Harris moved like a soldier, his weapon drawn, his orders sharp. Adrian held his children close until Harris returned. Sir, the guard said, his face grim, we didn't find anyone. But the wires were definitely cut by hand. This wasn't an accident. Clara's breath hitched. It's him, Marcus. He's already inside. Adrian's eyes narrowed. Or he has someone working for him here. That thought sent a chill through the room. An inside man. A traitor among the staff. Ethan's small voice broke the silence. Papa, are we safe? Adrian knelt down, looking his son in the eye. His voice was steady, but inside his heart burned. Yes, Ethan, you're safe. I promise. But his mind whispered doubts. Because promises meant nothing if Marcus already had his claws inside the house. The next day, Adrian gathered the staff in the grand hall. They stood in a nervous line, eyes darting, hands fidgeting. Clara stood among them, pale but silent. Adrian's voice thundered across the room. Last night, someone tampered with the power. That means one of you has betrayed this house. The staff murmured nervously. Adrian's gaze swept across them, sharp and unblinking. I built my empire because I do not tolerate betrayal, and I will not tolerate it here. If anyone here is hiding something, speak now, because if I find out myself, there will be no mercy. The room fell silent. No one spoke. Finally, Harris stepped forward. Sir, I'll begin investigating each one. No one will leave the mansion until we're certain. Adrian nodded. His eyes lingered on each face, searching for cracks. He saw fear, confusion, guilt, but whether it was guilt of betrayal or guilt of silence, he couldn't yet tell. That evening, Clara came to Adrian privately. Her hand shook as she spoke. Sir, I have a feeling. Adrian's eyes narrowed. About who? She hesitated, biting her lip. I don't want to accuse without proof, but the cook, James, he's been acting strangely. He avoids my eyes. He disappears into the storage rooms for long periods. And yesterday I saw him near the generator room before the lights went out. Adrian's jaw tightened. Why didn't you say this sooner? I was afraid I was wrong, Clara whispered. But after last night, Adrian didn't wait. He called for Harris. Bring James to me, now. James, the middle-aged cook, stood in front of Adrian minutes later. His apron was still dusted with flour, his hands trembling slightly. Adrian's voice was low, dangerous. Where were you last night when the power went out? James stammered. I was in the kitchen, sir. Cleaning up? Is that so? Adrian leaned forward. Clara says she saw you near the generator room. James's face paled. I was just passing by. Passing by? Adrian's voice sharpened. The generator room is not near the kitchen. Why were you there? James's lips trembled. Sweat formed on his forehead. Adrian stepped closer, his presence towering. Are you working with Marcus Hale? James's knees shook. No, sir. I swear. Harris searched him and found nothing. But Adrian's instinct screamed. Something about James's fear felt too real, not the fear of innocence, but the fear of being caught. Adrian's hand slammed onto the table. If you betray me, if you put my children at risk, you will regret it more than anything in your life. James's eyes filled with tears. I'm not a traitor, sir. Please. Adrian studied him for a long moment, then finally motioned for Harris to take him away. Clara stood nearby, her hands clasped, her face pale. She whispered, "If Marcus has someone in this house, we may never know who it is until it's too late." Adrian's voice hardened. "Then I'll find him. Even if I have to tear this mansion apart brick by brick." That night, Clara lay awake in her small room, unable to rest. Every creak in the walls, every gust of wind against the window made her heart jump, and then she heard it. A whisper, faint, just outside her door. She froze. The whisper came again, low and raspy. "Clara, you can't hide forever." Her blood turned cold. She rushed to the door and pulled it open. No one was there. Only the dark hallway stretching silently ahead. Her hands trembled as she closed the door again, tears filling her eyes. Marcus wasn't just outside anymore. His shadow was inside, and Clara knew this was only the beginning. The mansion had grown quieter. Too quiet. Even with guards at the gates, even with Harris patrolling like a hawk, Adrian could feel that betrayal was near. It wasn't the kind of silence that gave peace. It was the kind that whispered of secrets hidden in shadows, and he was right. The next few days blurred with constant tension. Adrian worked during the day, but could never focus. He stayed close to his children, afraid to let them out of sight. Clara shadowed them everywhere, watching, guarding, worrying. But then something happened that changed everything. One morning, as Clara was walking past the study, she noticed something strange. James, the cook, was slipping inside while thinking no one saw him. Her heart raced. Why would the cook need to be in the study? That room belongs only to Mr. Cole. Clara moved closer, pressing herself against the wall. She heard faint rustling papers being moved. Then, the quiet click of a drawer opening. She gasped softly. "He's stealing something." Clara darted away to find Adrian. "Sir," she whispered urgently when she found him in the hall, "James is inside your study. He's going through your desk." Adrian's face darkened instantly. They rushed to the study. Adrian pushed open the door with a force that made it slam against the wall. Inside, James stood, frozen papers in his hands. The color drained from his face. "Sir, I can explain." Adrian's voice roared like thunder. "Explain this." Clara stood behind him, her hands shaking. Harris entered too, his hand on his weapon. James stammered. I was only checking. I wanted to make sure everything was in order." "In order?" Adrian's glare could have cut stone. "You are a cook. What business do you have with my files?" James dropped the papers. His lips trembled, but his eyes gave him away. There was guilt, fear, and something darker, loyalty not to Adrian, but to someone else. "Tell me." Adrian's voice was low, cold. "How much is Marcus paying you?" The room fell silent. Clara's eyes widened. Harris tightened his grip on James's arm. James's face crumbled. "Please, sir. I had no choice. He found me. He threatened my family. He said if I didn't help, he would kill them." Clara gasped. Adrian's jaw clenched, his fury mixing with a rare flicker of pity. "You betrayed me," Adrian said slowly, every word heavy. "You betrayed my children." James dropped to his knees, tears spilling down his face. "Forgive me, sir. I didn't want to. He forced me. Please don't hurt me. I only passed him small things, schedules, times, that's all." Clara whispered, horrified, so Marcus knew. When the children were outside, when they were walking, when you were away, Adrian's fists curled. "You risked their lives." Harris yanked James to his feet. "What should we do with him, sir?" Adrian stared at James for a long moment. His instincts screamed to punish him, to make him pay. But Adrian wasn't just a man of anger, he was a man of strategy. "Lock him in the cellar," Adrian ordered. "Keep guards on him. We'll decide later." James sobbed as Harris dragged him away. Clara stood frozen, her mind reeling. So it was true. Marcus had already planted his claws inside this house, but the nightmare wasn't over. That night, after James had been locked away, the children were finally sleeping peacefully upstairs. Clara sat near their room, keeping watch like she always did now. Adrian was in his study, staring at the fire, his thoughts heavy. Marcus was moving closer. If James had already been passing information, then Marcus likely knew the layout of the mansion, the routines, even the weaknesses. The betrayal had cut deep. Suddenly, Harris burst into the room. His face was pale, his voice urgent. "Sir, we have a problem. James is gone." Adrian shot to his feet. "What do you mean, gone?" The guards' Harris's voice hardened. "They're dead. Someone slit their throats. James has escaped." Adrian's blood ran cold. Clara, hearing the commotion, rushed in. Her eyes widened. No, this can't be happening." Adrian's voice was ice. "He's not gone. Marcus has him now." The mansion fell into chaos. Guards doubled their patrols. Windows were locked. Every shadow felt like a pair of eyes watching. But Adrian knew something the others didn't say aloud. Marcus didn't free James just to save him. He freed him to use him, and if James had already betrayed once, he would betray again. The next day, Adrian found a letter on his desk. It hadn't been there the night before. His hands clenched as he unfolded it. In neat, cruel handwriting it read, "You cannot protect them forever. Even the walls you build have cracks. I know your house better than you think." Adrian's chest tightened. His eyes burned. He crushed the letter in his hand, his voice low with fury. "He wants me afraid. He wants me to lose control." Clara's voice trembled. "But sir, if he already knows the inside of this house, what if he comes for the children again?" Adrian turned to her, his expression like stone. "Then let him come. I'll be waiting." But inside, Adrian knew this war was no longer outside the gates. Marcus had already stepped inside, and betrayal always leaves a wound. The betrayal of James still hung over the mansion like a storm cloud. Adrian had doubled the guards, locked every entrance, and even changed the codes to the security gates. But no amount of protection could erase the chill in the air, because Marcus Hale was not the kind of man to attack loudly. He was the kind who moved like smoke slipping into places unseen, leaving fear in his path. And now, the silent threat had begun. Whispers in the dark, it started small. Clara was walking down the corridor late one night, carrying a tray of warm milk for the children. The mansion was quiet, only the distant ticking of the grandfather clock echoing through the halls. But then she heard it, a whisper, low, almost like breath, against her ear. "Clara." She froze, her tray rattling in her hands. She turned, no one was there. The corridor was empty, shadows stretching across the walls. Her chest tightened. She hurried to the children's room, her steps quick, her eyes darting behind her. Inside, Ethan and Lily were asleep, peaceful and unaware. Clara set the tray down with trembling hands, whispering to herself, "It's only my imagination. Just fear playing tricks." But deep down, she knew better. The letter the next morning, Harris brought something to Adrian. A small envelope found slipped under the main door. Adrian tore it open. Inside was a single piece of paper with only 4 words written in red ink. "They belong to me." Clara gasped when she saw it. The children, overhearing, clung to their father's arms. Ethan whispered, "Papa." "What does it mean?" Adrian crumpled the paper in his fist. His voice was firm, but inside his heart raged. "It means a coward is trying to scare us. But he won't win." Clara's eyes flickered with fear. "Sir, he's watching us." Even now, Harris spoke with a soldier's calmness. "We'll increase the guard shifts again. He won't get inside." But Adrian wasn't convinced. Marcus didn't need to come inside to create fear. He only needed to make them feel he was already there. The children's fear that night. Adrian sat by the fireplace with Ethan and Lily. They tried to act normal, but their little faces told the truth. They were scared. "Papa," Lily whispered, "what if the bad man comes again?" Adrian pulled her onto his lap, brushing her hair back gently. "Then he'll find me waiting." "You don't need to worry," Ethan frowned. "But he says we belong to him." Adrian's chest tightened. He looked at his son's worried eyes and spoke with steady strength. "No, you belong to no one but yourselves. and I will protect you until my last breath." Clara, sitting nearby, wiped a tear from her cheek. She had never seen Adrian so vulnerable, so determined all at once. But the fear lingered. The children began to wake in the night, crying from nightmares. They said they heard footsteps outside their window. They said they saw a shadow standing at the edge of the garden. Adrian ordered guards to patrol the gardens day and night, but still, the children swore they saw him. The broken window one evening, a loud crash echoed through the mansion. Everyone rushed to the living room where they found a window shattered. Glass lay across the floor, and in the center of it was a stone. Tied to the stone was a small note. Harris picked it up, his jaw tightening as he handed it to Adrian. Adrian unfolded the paper slowly. It read, "Walls can't keep me out." Clara's knees weakened. The children clung to Adrian in terror. Adrian's fury burned hotter than ever. "He wants to play games? Then let him. I will not break." But inside, Adrian knew this was more than games. Marcus was tightening the noose step by step, making them feel trapped even in their own home. Clara's secret feared that night. After the children were asleep, Clara went to her small room. She sat on her bed, her hands covering her face. The whispers, the shadows, the letters "it" was breaking her. And then she remembered something. Years ago, before she worked for Adrian, she had heard of Marcus Hale. His name was spoken in hushed voices. People said he had destroyed entire families who crossed him. Some said he never needed to pull the trigger himself. He made others do it for him. He was a ghost, a shadow, a nightmare that crept into people's lives until they broke. Now he was here, and Clara was caught in his storm. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered to herself, "How much longer can we survive this?" Adrian's resolve in the study. Adrian sat alone by the fire. The letter burned in his hand. His face was hard, but his eyes betrayed the storm inside. He thought of his empire, his wealth, his power. None of it mattered now. The only treasure he had were his children, and Marcus wanted to take them. Adrian's jaw tightened. He rose from his chair, his voice a whisper in the empty room. "You've made one mistake, Marcus. You think fear will make me weak, but fear only sharpens me." He turned toward the window, his reflection staring back. "You want to play in the shadows? Then I'll drag you into the light." The silent threat the mansion slept, but uneasily. Guards patrolled. Clara watched the children, and Adrian stood awake in his study, waiting and outside, unseen in the dark. Marcus Hale watched too. A shadow among shadows, silent, patient, deadly. The threat was no longer a question. It was here, and the mansion would never know peace again until the final confrontation came. The Cole mansion had become a cage. Guards at every gate, windows locked, alarms tested twice a day. And yet, despite all of it, everyone inside knew the truth. Walls cannot stop a ghost. Marcus Hale had been patient. He whispered through shadows, slipped notes under doors, shattered glass just to remind them he was near. But patience always breaks him that night. Marcus made his first real move. A quiet evening night began, like any other evening. Adrian sat with his children in the living room, pretending to read a story while his mind stayed elsewhere. Clara watched from a chair nearby, her hands nervously wringing a cloth. The rain outside beat against the windows. The thunder rolled like distant drums. For a brief moment, Adrian almost felt calm. The children laughed at a funny picture in the book. Clara smiled faintly. And Harris came in to report that all guards were in position. "Good," Adrian said firmly. "Keep it that way. Tonight feels different." He wasn't wrong. It was near midnight when the alarm shrieked. A piercing sound that jolted everyone awake. The guards shouted, boots pounding against the marble floors. Harris rushed in, his weapon drawn. "Sir." The East Wing movement detected. Adrian's blood ran cold. "Get the children." Clara grabbed Ethan and Lily from their beds, clutching them tightly as they cried in fear. Adrian took them in his arms, his voice steady, despite the storm inside him. "You're safe. Stay quiet. Stay with me." They hurried to the panic room hidden behind Adrian's study, a steel door disguised as a wall. Clara ushered the children inside while Harris locked the entrance. "Stay here," Adrian ordered Clara. "Don't open this door for anyone but me." Clara's voice shook. "But sir, no arguments." His eyes were hard. "Protect them." The steel door sealed with a heavy click. Now it was just Adrian, Harris, and the guards. The breach the east wing was dark. Rain lashed against the tall windows, thunder shaking the glass. The guards spread out, their flashlights slicing through the shadows. Adrian walked at the center, Harris beside him, every sense sharp. Then they saw it, a window smashed open. Curtains whipping in the storm. One of the guards muttered, "He's inside." Adrian raised his hand sharply. "Quiet. Listen." And then they heard it. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming from the hall ahead, the shadow though. Guards lifted their weapons, nerves rattling. But Adrian stepped forward, his voice deep and steady. "Marcus Hale." He called into the dark. "Show yourself." Only the wind howling through the broken window, then a laugh. Low, chilling, echoing through the hall. Harris stiffened. The guards shifted uneasily. The laugh grew louder, then faded again. As if moving through the walls themselves, and then darkness. The mansion's power cut again. Flashlights flickered desperately as the hall fell into shadows. Adrian's jaw clenched. He's not playing anymore. The attack aide scream erupted from one of the guards. His flashlight clattered to the floor. When the others shined their beams toward him, he was gone, dragged into the shadows. "Stay sharp," Harris barked, raising his weapon. Another creation, another guard, thrown against the wall. Groaning in pain, Adrian's fury boiled. He's here. Right here. And then, for a split second, Adrian saw him. A tall figure in black, face hidden, moving with deadly speed. Marcus Hale. Their eyes met across the hall. Cold against fire. Predator against protector. Adrian Cole. Marcus's voice hissed, dark and mocking. "Even your fortress has cracks." Adrian stepped forward, fists clenched. "You won't touch my children." Marcus tilted his head. "They're already mine." Before Adrian could move, Marcus vanished again into the dark. Chaos in the mansion. The halls erupted in chaos. Guards fired at shadows, bullets sparking against walls. Marcus moved like a phantom, striking and vanishing, leaving bodies groaning in his wake. Harris fought fiercely, dragging wounded men to safety. "He's not here to kill us all," Harris growled. "He's here to send a message." Adrian's fury burned hotter. He could feel it. Marcus wasn't just attacking his home. He was breaking their spirit. But Adrian would not. "Break," he shouted above the storm. "Marcus, you want me?" "I'm right here." The hall fell silent again, and then Marcus's voice came, close to close. "Not tonight, Adrian. Tonight is only the beginning." The escape. By the time the lights flickered back on, Marcus was gone. The broken window gaped open, rain pouring in. Several guards lay injured. One was unconscious. The others looked shaken, their courage tested. Harris wiped blood from his brow. He could have killed us all, but he didn't. He wanted us afraid. Adrian's fists clenched. He succeeded, but not with me. He stormed back to the panic room. Clara and the children rushed out as the door opened. Lily crying, Ethan clinging to his father's leg. "Papa." Ethan sobbed. "Did the bad man come?" Adrian knelt, hugging both children tightly. His voice was steady, even as rage boiled inside him. "He came, but he left empty-handed. And he always will." Clara's eyes brimmed with tears. "Sir, how long can we survive this?" Adrian looked toward the storm outside, his face like stone. "As long as it takes, until I end him." The first attack, the mansion bore scars. Now broken windows, wounded men, shattered nerves. Marcus had finally crossed the line. It was no longer whispers or letters. It was war. And Adrian knew this was only the first strike. The real battle was still coming. The mansion was still wounded from the attack. Broken glass covered the east wing, guards walked with bandages, and Clara's hands shook whenever she poured tea. But Adrian Cole was no longer shaken. Fear had turned into fire. Marcus. Hale had brought the fight into his home, had dared to stand before his children, and had left only because he chose to. That was the mistake. Adrian knew it now. Waiting would only mean more attacks, more fear, more danger. It was time to change the game. Adrian's decision. Adrian stood in his study at dawn, the fire in the hearth crackling low. Harris entered, his arm in a sling from the night before. "Sir," Harris said quietly, "the men are rattled. Some want to quit. The others, they're afraid." Adrian turned slowly. His eyes were sharp, his voice like steel. "Let them leave if they wish, but I will not sit behind walls any longer. If Marcus wants war, he will have it." Harris frowned. "You mean, go after him?" Adrian nodded. "Yes, the hunter must become the hunted." Clara, who had been standing quietly in the corner, gasped. "Sir, it's too dangerous. He thrives in the shadows." "If you step out," Adrian cut her off, his voice fierce. "If I don't, my children will never sleep in peace again. He will haunt them forever. I won't allow it." Clara's eyes filled with tears. She wanted to protest, but the fire in Adrian's eyes silenced her. Harris gave a small nod. "Then we take the fight to him." Preparing the trip, Adrian didn't rush blindly. He was a businessman, a strategist, a man who had built an empire by thinking 3 steps ahead. "Marcus wants me afraid," Adrian said, pacing the room. "So we give him what he wants. We lure him into believing I'm weak." Harris leaned forward. "How?" Adrian's lips curled into a grim smile. "By spreading news that I'll be leaving the mansion tomorrow night with only a few guards, alone, vulnerable." Clara's eyes widened. "You mean bait?" "Yes," Adrian said firmly. "He won't resist. He'll come. And when he does'll be ready." Clara's fear. Later that night, Clara sat with the children in their room. Ethan and Lily were slowly falling asleep, but Clara's heart was restless. She thought of Adrian's plan, of him walking into the open knowing Marcus would strike. Her hands trembled as she smoothed the children's blankets. If something happens to him, what will become of us? But she also remembered the way he had held his children after the attack, the way his voice had burned with promise. He will not stop until Marcus is gone. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered to herself, "Please, let him come back to us." The next evening, the rumors spread exactly as Adrian planned. Words slipped out through certain channels, whispered by frightened staff, overheard by strangers. Adrian Cole would be leaving his mansion at midnight. Marcus Hale would hear. Adrian was sure of it. At the stroke of midnight, Adrian stepped out of the mansion's gates. He wore a dark coat, his steps steady, his expression calm. 2 guards followed at a distance while Harris trailed from the shadows. The night was cold. The streets were empty. Every corner felt like an eye watching. Adrian's senses sharpened. "He's here. I can feel him." The confrontation minutes passed. Silence stretched. Then, suddenly, a voice slithered through the dark. Well. Adrian Cole, walking in the night like prey. Adrian stopped. His fists tightened. "Come out, Marcus." From the shadows, Marcus Hale emerged. Tall, dark, his eyes glinting with cruelty. "You think you're clever?" Marcus hissed. "Setting bait. But you've only made it easier." Adrian's gaze burned. "This ends tonight," Marcus smirked. "It ends when I say it ends." And then movement. Figures appeared from the alleys. Marcus's men, at least 5 of them, surrounding Adrian. Clara's worst fear was real. Adrian had walked into danger, but Adrian didn't flinch. Harris and hidden guards stepped from the darkness too, weapons drawn. Marcus's smile faded. Adrian's voice was ice. "You thought I'd walk alone? No, Marcus. You're the one who's trapped." The fight chaos erupted. Marcus's men lunged, but Adrian's guards fought back fiercely. Harris moved like lightning despite his injured arm, taking down one attacker. The clash of fists, the crack of weapons, the echo of struggle filled the night. Adrian himself fought like a man possessed. He wasn't just defending himself, he was fighting for his children, for their safety. For every sleepless night Marcus had caused, he struck one man down. Then another, his fists fueled by fury. But Marcus was different. He moved with deadly grace, every strike calculated. When their fists finally met, the clash felt like thunder. "Stay down, Cole," Marcus growled. "You can't win." Adrian's voice was fire. "I don't need to win. I just need to end you." They fought brutally, each blow echoing years of hatred. Blood spilled, sweat dripped, the night itself holding its breath. Marcus' escape sat last. Marcus staggered back, blood on his lip. But instead of fear, he grinned. "You're strong, Adrian. Stronger than I expected. But this isn't over." Before Adrian could strike again, a smoke grenade burst at his feet. Thick fog swallowed the street. Shouts and confusion filled the air. When the smoke cleared, Marcus was gone. Adrian's chest heaved, his fists clenched. He had almost had him. Almost. Harris stepped forward, breathing hard. "Sir, we nearly got him." "Next time," Adrian cut him off, his voice low and burning. "There won't be a next time. I'll finish this, no matter what it takes." The hunter Adrian walked back into the mansion as dawn broke. His children rushed to him, crying with relief. Clara's tears spilled as she whispered, "Thank God you're safe." Adrian knelt, hugging Ethan and Lily tightly. His voice was steady, filled with promise. "It's over when I say it's over. Not before and for the first time." Marcus. Hall would learn Adrian Cole was no longer prey. He was the hunter. The night of the ambush left the Cole mansion in silence. No one dared to speak of it openly. But the truth hung heavy in the air. Marcus Hale had escaped again. Adrian Cole sat in his study at dawn, his knuckles bruised, his shirt still stained from the fight. The fire in his chest had not cooled. If anything, it burned hotter. Marcus had slipped through smoke, like a shadow vanishing before sunrise. But shadows had to come from somewhere, and Adrian would find that source. This was no longer just about defense. It was war. Adrian's resolve. Harris entered quietly, his arms still wrapped in a sling. "Sir," he said, his voice low, "the men fought bravely last night. But morale is fragile. They fear Marcus will strike again harder." Adrian leaned back, his eyes heavy but sharp. "And he will. Marcus always retaliates. But this time, Harris, we won't wait for his move." Harris frowned. "You mean hunt him?" Adrian nodded. "Yes. I will close the walls around him, slowly, tightly, until there's no escape." Clara, who had been standing near the doorway with a tray of tea, nearly dropped the cups. "Sir, please. You barely survived last night. If you keep chasing him, what if you don't come back next time?" Adrian's gaze softened for a moment. "Clara, every night I see my children's faces. I remember Marcus's men breaking into their home. If I don't end this now, they'll never be safe. I would rather risk myself than let them live in fear." Clara's lips trembled. She said nothing, but her eyes glistened with silent worry. The investigation for days. Adrian turned his empire into a weapon. His business contacts in shipping, his reach in real estate, his silent network of loyal men, they all became tools in his hunt. Information flowed like water, whispers of Marcus's hideouts, rumors of old debts, names of those still loyal to him. Late one night, Harris laid a map on Adrian's desk. "We've traced his movements. He uses abandoned warehouses along the river, always moving, never staying in one place too long." Adrian studied the map, his finger tracing the lines. "He's careful. But every man makes a mistake. And Marcus is arrogant." Harris leaned closer. "You're planning something, aren't you?" Adrian's eyes narrowed. "Yes, a net. One he won't see until it's too late. Marcus's plots, revenge across the city. Marcus Hale sat in a dimly lit room, his face bruised from the fight, a bandage around his arm. His men circled him like wolves. One of them asked, "Boss, should we strike again? Hit the mansion harder this time." Marcus sneered, "Not yet. Cole thinks he's clever, but I know him. He'll come for me. And when he does, I'll gut him where he stands." He poured himself a drink, his eyes gleaming. He wants to protect his little family? Fine. Let him chase me into the dark. That's where I thrive. Clara's confession back at the mansion. Clara could no longer keep her fears inside. She found Adrian one evening in the study, staring at the map again. "Sir," she whispered, "may I speak honestly?" Adrian glanced up. "Always." Clara clasped her hands tightly. "When I saw you walk into the night, I thought it might be the last time. The children need you, sir. More than they need wealth, more than they need walls. Please, don't lose yourself in this war." Adrian's jaw tightened. He looked at her, seeing not just a maid, but a woman who cared deeply for his children, and for him. "Clara," he said quietly, "if Marcus wins, I lose everything anyway. My children, their future, their peace. I can't let that happen. I won't." Clara's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. Deep inside, she knew nothing could turn him away now. The net is cast. Weeks passed, and Adrian's plan began to take shape. One by one, Marcus's men were cornered. Some disappeared quietly. Others were bribed to switch sides. The circle around Marcus grew smaller, tighter. Harris reported back each night. "He's running out of allies, sir. He's hiding deeper, trusting fewer men. We've cut off his supplies, his money, even his safe routes." Adrian gave a grim smile. "Good. Soon he'll have nowhere to go." But Harris hesitated. "Sir, men like Marcus are most dangerous when cornered. He won't go down quietly." Adrian's voice was cold. "Neither will I." A dangerous lead one night, Harris brought urgent news. "We found him. He's hiding in the old foundry by the docks. But sir, be careful. It's too convenient. He may be setting a trap." Adrian's pulse quickened. This was the moment he had been waiting for. "Prepare the men," Adrian said. "Tonight we end this." Clara overheard, her face pale. She stepped forward, grabbing his arm. "Please don't go. It's too dangerous. What if this is what he wants?" Adrian looked at her, his voice steady. "Then let him want it. Because I want something to an end." Marcus strikes back that night. Adrian and his men moved toward the docks. The air was heavy with fog, the water black and still. But before they could reach the foundry, a fire broke out at the far side of the city. Alarms rang. Screams echoed. Harris cursed under his breath. "It's him." A distraction. Adrian's heart stopped. The mansion. Without another word, Adrian spun around, racing back. Marcus hadn't been hiding. He had been watching, waiting, and now, as flames licked the night sky, Adrian realized Marcus had gone after the one thing he valued most. His children. The cliffhanger, Adrian's carriage tore through the streets. His fists clenched, his heart hammering in his chest. Clara's voice from earlier echoed in his mind. What if this is what he wants? She had been right. As the mansion came into view, Adrian saw smoke rising, guards running, chaos everywhere, and somewhere inside the fire and the shadows Marcus Hale was waiting. The net had tightened, but Adrian couldn't tell yet who was trapped inside it. The Cole mansion had always stood tall, its stone walls strong, its gates secure, its halls alive with laughter. But that night, the mansion was a battlefield. Flames climbed the curtains of the east wing. Thick smoke curled through the halls, and shouts of panic echoed in the air. Clara held Ethan and Lily close, her heart pounding. She could hear the guards clashing with intruders downstairs. Marcus Hale had come. Clara's fear. Clara crouched in the children's room, whispering to them as the fire spread. "Stay quiet. Stay with me. Don't let go of my hands." Lily whimpered, tears streaking her cheeks. "Miss Clara, I'm scared." Clara kissed her forehead, forcing her voice to stay calm, though her hands shook. "It's all right, my darling. I won't let anything happen to you." Ethan tried to be brave, but his voice trembled. "Where's Father? He promised he would protect us." Clara's chest ached. She wanted to tell him his father was on his way. She wanted to believe it herself. But all she said was, "He's coming. He'll never leave you." Marcus enters. Heavy footsteps echoed through the hall. Doors slammed open, one after another, and then dashed silence. Clara froze. The children clutched her tighter. The silence broke with a voice, deep, mocking. "Clara, children. Don't hide from me." It was Marcus Hale. Clara's blood ran cold. She stood, pulling the children behind her. The door creaked open, and Marcus stepped inside. His face was lit by the glow of fire, his smile sharp and cruel. "Well, well," he said softly. "The loyal maid. Guarding children that aren't hers? How touching." Clara's knees shook, but she did not back away. "Leave them alone, Marcus. They're innocent." Marcus tilted his head, amused. "Innocent? Their father is my enemy. That makes them part of this war." He stepped closer, and Lily whimpered. Clara spread her arms wide, shielding them. "You'll reach them over my dead body." Marcus smirked. "That can be arranged." Adrian's race, meanwhile, Adrian's carriage thundered through the streets. Harris clutched the seat, shouting over the wheels' roar. "Sir, the fire is spreading fast." If Marcus is inside, Adrian's jaw clenched. Then he'll wish he never was. His hands shook with rage. The thought of Marcus near his children filled him with fury, unlike any he had ever known. "Hold on. Ethan, hold on, Lily. I'm coming." The confrontation back in the mansion. Marcus took a step closer, and Clara stood firm. "Why do you protect them?" Marcus asked coldly. "You're just a servant. They mean nothing to you." Clara's voice shook, but her words were strong. "They mean everything to me. They are my world." Marcus's smile faded. For a moment, he studied her, as if trying to understand her courage. Then his eyes hardened again. "You're brave," he said, "but bravery won't save you." He raised his hand, a knife glinting in the firelight. The children screamed. Clara gasped, but did not move aside. And then Marcus. The voice thundered through the hall. Adrian Cole burst into the room, his eyes blazing, his presence like a storm. "Father arrives." Marcus turned slowly, smirking. "Ah, the great Adrian Cole." Just in time, Adrian's fists clenched as he stepped forward. "Step away from my children." Marcus chuckled darkly. "You should thank me. I've shown them what kind of man their father really is, a man who brings war to his own." The doorstep. Adrian's voice was low and dangerous. "You've made your last mistake." The children cried out, "Father." Clara held them tightly, her heart racing with relief and fear. The two men locked eyes. Fire crackled around them. The air was thick with smoke and hatred. This was the showdown both had been waiting for. The fight in the flames. Marcus lunged first, his knife flashing. Adrian dodged, grabbing Marcus's arm and shoving him back against the wall. The knife clattered to the floor, but Marcus fought like a beast, striking with fists and fury. Adrian's blows were heavy, fueled by anger and love for his children. Each strike was a promise. You will never touch them again. The room shook with their fight. Furniture toppled, glass shattered. Flames roared louder. Clara pulled the children toward the corner, shielding them with her body. She prayed desperately. "Please, let him win. Please, let him survive." Marcus's cruelty. Marcus managed to break free, slamming Adrian against a burning wall. He sneered into Adrian's face. "You think you can protect them forever? You can't. When you're gone, they'll still be mine to haunt." Adrian's rage exploded. He slammed his fist into Marcus's jaw, then another into his chest. "You will never come near them again." Adrian roared. Marcus staggered, blood spilling from his lip, but he laughed. "You're strong, Adrian, but not strong enough." He grabbed a burning beam from the floor, swinging it wildly. Flames sparked as he struck. Adrian ducked, but the fire spread faster. The mansion itself seemed to be collapsing around them. Clara's moment through the smoke. Clara saw Marcus raising the burning beam toward Adrian. Without thinking, she grabbed a heavy candlestick from the table. "Leave him alone," she cried, and with all her strength, she swung. The candlestick struck Marcus across the head. He roared in pain, stumbling back, the beam falling from his hands. Adrian seized the chance. With one final crushing blow, he sent Marcus crashing to the floor. The villain lay stunned, bloodied, gasping escape from the fire. The ceiling cracked. Flames consumed the walls. The mansion groaned like a dying beast. Adrian turned to Clara. "Take the children. Get them out now." Clara grabbed Ethan and Lily, leading them through the smoke-filled halls. Guards rushed to help, guiding them toward the exit. Adrian stayed behind, standing over Marcus. His chest heaved, his fists still clenched. Marcus looked up, smiling through blood. "Kill me, Cole. Do it. Or I'll come back." Adrian's eyes burned. For a moment, the temptation was strong. End it now. End the threat forever. But then he heard his children screaming his name outside. He turned, leaving Marcus behind in the flames. The cliffhanger Adrian stumbled out into the night air, smoke clinging to his skin, fire raging behind him. The children ran into his arms, sobbing. Clara stood nearby, her face streaked with ash and tears. Harris rushed forward. "Sir, did you finish him? Is Marcus dead?" Adrian looked back at the burning mansion. The flames swallowed the east wing, where Marcus had fallen. His voice was low, uncertain. "I don't know," because deep inside, Adrian feared the truth. Men like Marcus never died so easily. The fire raged until dawn. The once grand coal mansion, a symbol of wealth and strength, stood blackened and broken. Ash floated in the morning air. Smoke curled like ghosts above the ruins. And the smell of burning wood lingered for miles. Adrian Cole stood outside with soot covering his face, his children clinging tightly to him. Clara was nearby, coughing into her sleeve, her dress torn and dirty from the escape. Harris directed what guards remained, but his eyes carried the same question everyone feared to ask. Was Marcus Hale dead? The children's tears Ethan sobbed into his father's chest. "Papa, our home, it's gone." Adrian knelt, holding him close. His voice was soft, though his heart ached. "Homes can be rebuilt, Ethan. What matters is that you and Lily are safe." Lily sniffled, her small arms wrapped around Clara's neck. "But what if the bad man comes back? What if he hurts us again?" Clara kissed her hair gently, whispering, "He won't touch you. Not while I'm here. Not while your father is here." Adrian's jaw tightened. He wanted to promise them absolute safety, but deep inside, doubt gnawed at him. He had left Marcus inside the fire, yet he had not seen him die. Clara's quiet strength later that morning. Clara sat with the children beneath a tree, while the ruins still smoked behind them. She hummed softly, trying to calm them. Her hands trembled, but she forced herself to stay steady. The children needed her strong. Adrian watched from a distance, his heart heavy. Clara had risked everything the night before, standing between Marcus and the children, striking him when no one else could. She was more than a maid now. She was their shield. He walked over slowly, his voice low. "Clara, I owe you more than I can ever repay." Clara looked up, her eyes tired but firm. "You owe me nothing, sir. I did what any mother would do." The words hung in the air. She hadn't meant them to sound so raw. But they revealed the truth. Her love for Ethan and Lily had grown deeper than duty. Adrian's chest tightened. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "They are alive because of you. I won't forget that." Harris is out by noon. The guards returned from searching the ruins. One stepped forward nervously. "Sir, we searched the east wing, where you said Marcus fell. The fire destroyed everything. There's no body." The words cut like a blade. Adrian's eyes darkened. "Are you telling me he escaped?" The guard swallowed. I can't say for sure, but there's no sign of him. Harris cursed under his breath. That devil is like smoke, you can never hold him. Clara paled, clutching Lily tighter. The thought of Marcus alive, out there waiting, it was unbearable. Adrian's voice was low, sharp. Alive or not, we'll assume the worst. He won't stop until I make certain of it. The weight of fear that night. The family stayed in a guest house near the mansion grounds. It was safe, but not home. The children huddled together in one bed, too scared to sleep. Every creak of wood, every gust of wind made them flinch. Clara sat by the window, watching the shadows. Her heart beat faster at every sound. She whispered to herself, "What if he's still alive? What if he comes tonight?" Adrian entered quietly, seeing the worry on her face. He sat across from her, his eyes heavy with exhaustion. "Clara," he said softly, "I can see your fear. I feel it too. But we must stay strong for the children." Clara's voice cracked. "I don't fear for myself, sir. I fear for them. If Marcus is alive, he will not stop. He will burn everything until nothing is left." Adrian leaned forward, his voice fierce. "Then I'll stop him before he gets the chance. I swear it." Marcus in the shadows, far from the Cole estate, in a hidden cabin beyond the river, Marcus Hale sat in darkness. His face was burned, his body battered, but his eyes glowed with hatred. The fire had not claimed him. He had crawled through smoke and ruin, slipping away like a shadow. His men few now, loyal to the end, tended to his wounds. One whispered, "Boss, you should rest. You barely made it out alive." Marcus's lips curled into a bitter smile. "Rest? No. Adrian Cole thinks he's won. He thinks his family is safe." He leaned forward, his voice like poison. "But I'm still here. And I will not stop until everything he loves is ashes." The children's innocence. The next morning, Ethan asked Clara, "Will we ever go home again?" Clara knelt, brushing the boy's hair back. "Your father will build us a new home, one even safer than before." Ethan frowned. "But what if the bad man comes back? What if he takes you away too?" Clara's heart broke. She hugged him tightly. "He won't, I promise. Nothing will take me from you." Adrian stood at the doorway, listening. His heart ached at the fear in his children's voices. Fear Marcus had planted like a seed. Adrian knew then he couldn't just defend anymore. He had to strike first. Adrian's silent vow that evening. Adrian stood alone at the edge of the burned mansion. The ruins glowed faintly under the moonlight. He closed his eyes, fists clenched. "Marcus," he whispered, "you took my home. You terrified my children? You think you've broken us? But I swear, by everything I have left you, will not win. I will end this, even if it costs me my life." Behind him, Clara appeared quietly. She said nothing, just stood beside him, her presence steady. For a moment, in the silence, Adrian drew strength from her courage. Together, they looked at the ashes. Both knowing the same truth, Marcus was not finished, and neither were they. The cliffhanger as the night deepened. The wind carried faint whispers through the ruins. In the distance, far beyond the estate, a shadow moved across the riverbank, watching, waiting. Marcus Hale was alive, and his vengeance had only just begun. The ashes of the Cole mansion still smoldered. But Adrian Cole's heart was no longer heavy with grief. It was filled with resolve. For weeks, Marcus Hale had hunted him, threatened his children, and set his home aflame. He had escaped fire, escaped traps, escaped death itself. But Adrian knew the truth. Marcus was only a man, and every man could fall. This would end not tomorrow, not someday. Tonight. A father's decision. Adrian stood in the guest house, watching Ethan and Lily sleep peacefully for the first time in days. Clara sat beside their bed, humming softly, her hand gently stroking Lily's hair. Adrian whispered, "Stay with them. Don't leave their side." Clara looked up, sensing the weight in his voice. "What are you going to do?" Adrian's eyes burned with determination. "Finish it. Marcus will not haunt them anymore. I won't wait for him to strike again. Clara's throat tightened. Sir, please, don't walk into his hands. If you fall, what will become of them? Adrian stepped closer, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. Then I must not fall. He turned toward the door. Clara's voice trembled behind him. Come back alive, for them. For me? Adrian paused, then gave a single nod, tracking the enemy through his network. Adrian had learned of Marcus's last hiding place, the abandoned ironworks beyond the river. It was far, cold, and isolated, the perfect lair for a man who thrived in shadows. Harris tried to stop him. Sir, at least take more men. Don't face him alone. Adrian shook his head. Too many will draw attention. Marcus must see only me. This ends between us. Harris's jaw clenched, but he bowed. Then let me wait nearby. If things go wrong, Adrian placed a firm hand on his shoulder. If things go wrong, protect my family. That is your only duty. And with that, Adrian rode out into the night. Inside the ironworks, the old ironworks loomed like a skeleton against the moon. Its broken windows gaped like hollow eyes, its walls blackened with soot from fires long dead. Adrian entered cautiously, the echo of his footsteps bouncing through the empty hall. The air smelled of rust and smoke. Then came the voice. You came. Marcus stepped from the shadows. His body scarred, his face burned from the mansion fire. But his eyes were alive with venom. Adrian's fists tightened. This ends tonight, Marcus. Marcus laughed bitterly. Oh, it will, but not the way you think. The final battle without warning, Marcus lunged, a steel pipe in his hands. Adrian dodged, the pipe smashing against the floor with a deafening clang. Sparks flew. The fight began. Marcus fought like a wild beast, every strike heavy with hatred. Adrian fought with discipline, his blows precise. Fueled by his love for his children, the clash of fists and steel echoed through the empty factory. Marcus swung wildly. Adrian countered with calculated force. Blood spilled, bruises formed, yet neither man yielded. You can't protect them forever. Marcus spat. When you're gone, they'll still carry my shadow. Adrian roared back, his fist slamming into Marcus's jaw. You will never touch them again. Marcus's last trick beaten and staggering, Marcus reached into his coat. Adrian's eyes widened as he pulled out a pistol, cocking it with trembling hands. Stay back, Marcus hissed, blood dripping from his lip. One shot, Cole. That's all it takes. Your children will cry over your grave. Adrian froze, his mind racing. But then Clara's voice echoed in his memory. Come back alive for them. For me, he could not stop here. As Marcus raised the gun, Adrian lunged. The shot rang out, the sound shaking the hall. Pain seared Adrian's arm, but he did not stop. With a surge of fury, he grabbed Marcus's wrist, twisting it until the gun clattered to the ground. Then Adrian struck. One blow, another, and another. Until Marcus collapsed to the floor, broken, defeated. The choice Marcus coughed. Blood staining his teeth, but his smile remained cruel. Do it, he gasped. Finish me, or I'll rise again and again, until I take everything from you. Adrian stood over him, chest heaving, fists trembling. Ending Marcus here would mean peace, but it would also make him a killer in his children's eyes. He thought of Ethan, of Lily, of Clara. His voice was low, steady. No, death is too easy for you. You will live but behind bars, where you can never hurt anyone again. The end of Marcus Hale Harris and the guards stormed in, having tracked the gunshot. Adrian stepped back, his voice firm. Take him. Make sure he never walks free again. Marcus struggled weakly, roaring like a trapped animal. This isn't over, Cole. You can't cage me forever. Adrian looked down at him one last time. His words were sharp as steel. It's over. And with that, Marcus Hale was dragged away into the night. His reign of terror finally ended. Home restored weeks later, the Cole estate was rebuilt. Not as it was before, but stronger, safer. Guards patrolled, walls were reinforced, and most importantly, the fear was gone. Ethan and Lily laughed again, playing in the garden without looking over their shoulders. Their nightmares faded, replaced by peace. Clara stood watching them, her heart full. She turned as Adrian approached, his arms still in a sling from the gunshot, but his eyes soft for the first time in months. They smile again. Clara whispered. Adrian nodded. Because of you. You gave them courage when I couldn't. Clara's cheeks warmed. I only did what I had to. Adrian's gaze lingered on her, filled with gratitude. And something deeper. Clara, you're more than a maid. You're family. You always have been. Tears welled in her eyes. But they were happy tears. The final piece that evening, Adrian tucked Ethan and Lily into bed. They clung to him, smiling sleepily. Papa, Ethan whispered. The bad man is gone, right? Adrian kissed his forehead. Yes, my son. He's gone. You're safe now, Lily mumbled, half asleep, and Miss Clara too. Adrian smiled softly. Yes, Miss Clara too. As the children drifted off, Adrian looked at Clara across the room. Their eyes met, and in that quiet moment, they both knew this was not just the end of a battle, it was the beginning of something new. Closing lines. The fire had burned their home. The shadows had tested their courage, and Marcus Hale had threatened everything they loved. But in the end, the Cole family, Adrian, Ethan, Lily, and Clara stood stronger than ever. Together, and no darkness would ever break them again.